All right, welcome to part 2 of the notes. We're going to pick up where we left off. We finished by looking at this example of integrating quotations. Now we're going to talk about citing sources. So since you'll be quoting from several works, you have to keep track of your sources for your reader. In timed situations, you'll probably only include the source number or the source letter. For example, on the AP test, if you choose to take it, or in any timed synthesis essays that we write in class, you will refer to a source by the letter. So source A, source B, source C, etc. In other situations, you include the author's name and the page number that the information is found if it's available, because sometimes like an online source, for example, might not have page numbers, in parentheses after the quotations or after the quotation or paraphrase. So a friendly reminder, even if you're just paraphrasing from a text, you have to have a citation with that. So let's look at this example. I should say one reason. One reason that digital technologies raise a red flag of concern among many adults is that young people, especially children, adapt to them quickly and easily, while adults find them not only more difficult to learn, but generally distracting and disturbing. Now, this phrasing, distracting and disturbing, came specifically from the source text. So at the end, before you put the period, in parentheses, you have the author's last name, and this is for MLA format. You have the author's last name, comma, page number. So you put P dot and then the page number. Or even, I have to check the new format. It might just be comma and then the number. You might not have to put the P, but I'll double check that for you. And then again, parenthesis and the period or the full stop. Okay, so before you end the sentence, you put a parenthesis, author's last name, the page number or page numbers where the information came from, end parenthesis, and then full stop. Okay, this is how you do an in-text citation. You need to cite paraphrases as well, not just direct quotes. And anytime you are using someone else's ideas, you have to give them credit. No matter how big or how small the reference is, you have to put an in-text citation. In addition to in-text citations, in a like a planned out synthesis essay, like one I give you time to do on, not a timed one, but one that I give you, some days or a week or 2 weeks or whatever, you have to have a works cited page as well. For timed essays, like the synthesis essay that you write on the AP test, you do not have to have a works cited page. So let's look at an example. One reason that digital technologies raise a red flag of concern among many adults is that young people, especially children, adapt to them quickly and easily, while adults find them not only more difficult to learn, but experience them as bothersome distractions from their everyday lives. This is an example of having paraphrased something from the source text, but still we're going to cite it. If you want to avoid putting the author at the end in the in-text citation, you do have the option to name drop the author, which is what the second one is an example of. So a psychologist and grandmother, Alison Gopnik, uses herself and her 4-year-old grandson to illustrate the ease with which young children learn to use new technologies, in contrast to adults like herself who find them distracting and disturbing. So in this example, in the second example, the name of the author is in the text. Now, you very, very well could do this. And technically speaking, if you're going to do this, the page number for the information, especially if it's a direct quote, should come at the end here. So that's my mistake. I should have put a page number there. But I encourage you to just do a little bit of both and be very careful when you're doing this so that there's no confusion about, is this person the author of this or not? Occasionally, you'll encounter a source within a source. What that means is that the source you intend to quote has already, within that quote, quoted somebody else. They quoted another author. if you come across this instance, you have two options. You can enclose the entire quotation in double quotes, which are the normal quotation marks, and then use single quotes to indicate what the author cites. So what they are quoting from something. And I'll show you an example of this. The second option you have is to go to the original source text or whatever's being quoted and quote directly from there. I personally encourage the second option in a longer research paper, a planned research paper, I should say, or planned synthesis essay, just because it's always better to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, which is a weird English expression, but nonetheless it exists. It's better to go from the person who said it first and see what they said than to just trust what somebody else is summarizing or choosing to just select from the text because maybe, they took it out of context. But if you choose to go with the first option, here's an example. Carr points out that perhaps the most dangerous part of researching on the internet is that it gives people an exaggerated sense of their own intelligence. He supports this assertion by referring to the result of a study by 3 Yale psychologists, which showed that searching the web gives people an illusion of knowledge. Now, in this instance, Carr, the person we are originally reading the information from, has these double quotes, right? You can tell that this first quoted part is just from Carr because there's only double quotes, right? In the second part of this, however, where we have our double quotes, okay, which is how we normally start to quote something, when we get to illusion of knowledge, these have single, look, notice the one, and then two, right? So that means that this phrasing, illusion of knowledge, came from something else that Carr cited in his or her own work, right? So we are going to quote this phrasing because that doesn't belong to Carr. That belongs to somebody else whom he was citing, okay? When you end, if it happens, like this one comes at the end, right? When you end this single quote, you still follow it with a double quote. So you end up with like these 3 floating quotation marks, right? So anything that you are citing, you put in the double quotation marks. Anything within that has been cited in your text will go in single quotation marks. All right, so that wraps up the notes section. What I want you guys to do now is we're going to practice doing some of this material and more of practice dissecting or starting to like go through somebody else's synthesis essay. So I'm going to pull up the sample essay that you're going to read, and then I'll explain what I want you to do. All right, in Google Classroom, in the classwork tab, you will find a reference document titled "Is Technology Making Us Dumber?" essay. This is a synthesis essay that is from the AP textbook. And what you're going to do is you are going to read through this essay. It is just over 2 pages, 2 1/4. And then you'll find another document in Google Classroom that is titled "Is Technology Making Us Dumber? Questions." Here you have 6 questions. You are going to make a copy of this document. You are going to answer all 6 questions on your own. This is not a partner activity. This is an individual activity. And when you're done, you're going to submit your work to Google Classroom. For each of these questions, you are using the synthesis essay that is posted as a reference, okay? To answer these, you're answering these questions about that essay. You need to answer every single part of the question. So look, number 3 has multiple parts. If you've not answered all of those parts, you will not receive full credit for answering number 3. Lastly, you have to have a full response. So claim, evidence, warrant still applies here, right? So if you are saying that, let's see, how effectively does this engage the reader? and lead into the right thesis. It blah blah blah. Give your claim. Provide your evidence. So quote from the text. That's fine. And then explain what you're saying. Your warrant. This is not really difficult. Make your best effort to answer these questions. It will take some time. And this assignment will be due when we start class tomorrow. Okay? So make sure you finish this, and I will make an assignment in Google Classroom, and I'll make it due at the beginning of class tomorrow. So you have until then to finish it. If it's submitted after that, it'll be marked as late, and you risk not receiving any credit for it. If you have any questions about this, please reach out to me via email or via Google Classroom. I'll get back to you. I will be available, and I will see you guys tomorrow.